to help him in the next competition. His old friend was called Wei Chen. His role in the game was a warlock. When Yishu asked him to help him, he said that he didn't play the game anymore. He lied to Yishu that he was already rich. After that, Yishu and Wei Chen hacked each other's IP address. They wanted to know about how they were doing these days. Yishu finally found Wei Chen's base camp. When he arrived there, he met one of Wei Chen's subordinates. Wei Chen's subordinate told Yishu that someone once paid them to kill Lord Grimm. Then, Yishu was looking around the base camp. He saw a replica of weapon there. It seemed like that replica was very precious to Wei Chen. At another place, Wei Chen also found Yishu base camp, which was Happy Internet Cafe. He met Guo there. It seemed like Wei Chen was as good as Yishu when it came to information searching. He asked Guo about Yishu new team. Guo told him that Happy consisted of 6 beginners who were equipped with basic weapons. Wei Chen was disappointed with that answer. Then, he asked Guo about the location of Lord Grimm, but Guo gave him Yishu's signature instead. Wei Chen finally returned to his base camp with empty hands. His subordinates told him about the location of Lord Grimm. Yishu was the one who told them about it when he visited Wei Chen's base camp. He planned to trap Wei Chen and his team. Wei Chen and Yishu finally met in the game. When Wei Chen was about to attack Yishu, Yishu used the shadow technique and pretended like he fell into Wei Chen's trap. When Yishu was attacked by Wei Chen's subordinates, he realized that Yifan had helped him since the game started. Then, Yishu told Yifan to attack Wei Chen. Wei Chen tried to incite Yifan to betray Yishu, but his strategy didn't work. Yifan finally managed to defeat him after Wei Chen's character died. Yifan and Yishu picked up his weapon immediately. They were lucky because that weapon had reached maximum level. Wei Chen was mad because of his loss. He had no other option but to meet Yishu at Happy Internet Cafe. So, the next day, he came there with his subordinates. They were dressed in black suits as if they were gangsters. The members of Happy teased Wei Chen. They pretended to plan to destroy Wei Chen's precious weapon if Wei Chen refused to help them in the next competition. After Wei Chen heard that fake conversation, he finally agreed to help Yishu and his team in their first training session. Wei Chen challenged all members of Happy to compete against him in climbing the tower. During the game, Wei Chen decided to slow down and let other members to climb the tower first. In spite of that, the differences of experience and mentality between Wei Chen and the members of Happy were clearly shown. Turned out, Wei Chen let the members of Happy climb the tower first because he needed to use them as his stepping stones. The day of the competition between Happy and Blue Rain finally arrived. Apparently, Wei Chen was actually a former captain of Blue Rain. Yishu purposely asked Wei Chen to help him in the competition to defeat Blue Rain. He thought that it would be funny if Blue Rain competed against their former senior. When Wei Chen and Shaoshan met each other, Yishu noticed that Shaoshan's big mouth came from Wei Chen. Before the competition began, Yishu gave a random basic weapon to Wei Chen to defeat Blue Rain. But Wei Chen wouldn't join him to play glory. He would be just watching his juniors fighting with each other. Then, the game started. Shaoshan tried to attack Yishu with his big mouth skill, but Yishu attacked him back and hanged him on the wall. At another place, Wei Chen began to get annoyed because he was being constantly attacked by his enemies. So, he decided to fight the enemies with Yifan and Baozi. The three of them finally managed to defeat the enemy's tanker easily, but while they were heading to the finish line, they were suddenly stopped by 3 members of Blue Rain. Wei Chen used his big mouth skill to defeat them. When Wei Chen was heading to the finish line to follow Yishu, Baozi, and Yifan, he was suddenly attacked by his enemy. His enemy was the captain of Blue Rain. It seemed like Wei Chen and the captain of Blue Rain had known each other for a long time in the past. Wei Chen was the captain of Blue Rain. In a training session where juniors compete against their seniors, Wei Chen was defeated by Yu Wanzhou for many times. Yu Wanzhou was the captain of Blue Rain in the present time. Wei Chen was embarrassed and traumatized because of that incident. Because of that, he decided to quit his job as the captain of Blue Rain. So, Wei Chen made a special weapon to defeat Yu Wanzhou. But unfortunately, Yishu had stolen that special weapon. He gave him a random weapon to defeat Blue Rain instead. Wei Chen was mad at Yishu because of that. And suddenly, they both had a fight. Instead of attacking Blue Rain, they both attacked each other near the buildings. But apparently, it was only Yishu and Wei Chen's plan to trick their enemies. They purposely hit the buildings so those buildings would collapse. When those buildings collapsed, Yishu and his team were running fast to the finish line. They finally managed to cross the finish line. After that, Yishu gave Wei Chen's special weapon to Wei Chen back. He told Wei Chen that Wei Chen wouldn't perform well if he was too depending on his special weapon after that competition. Wei Chen decided to return to the game tournament and join Happy. He missed the game tournament. He also liked how the members of Happy were very supportive of him after that. Wei Chen met the captain of Blue Rain. Yi Wanzhou praised Wei Chen for the way he played when he still played in the professional league. He also thanked him for teaching and taking care of the members of Blue Rain when he was still the captain of Blue Rain. Because of him, he could have a great team now. The result of the competition was finally announced. Yifan was happy because his team passed in that competition even though they only got the lowest rank at the dormitory of Excellent Era. Sun Zhang worried when he saw the result of the competition. He worried because Happy also passed in that competition. Then, he called Yishu to his office. He asked him to compete against him in an exhibition game. Yishu accepted that challenge before the exhibition game began. Happy had a meeting at their base camp. Luoji explained that they had to target Zhao Shikin during the game because he was the key member of Excellent Era. They needed someone who was fast like him. Yishu suddenly remembered about the assassin who stole Wenyi's weapon when they attacked the boss monster a few days ago. So, he went to his glory account and looked for him in the game. Yishu finally managed to find him. During their fight, that assassin had never said a word to him. It seemed like he was a shy and quiet person. After that, Wei Chen hacked the IP address of that assassin. He found out that the assassin was working at a coffee shop. So, Wei Chen, Yifan, and Yishu went to that coffee shop immediately. When they arrived there, they observed the situation for a while. They thought that the assassin was the manager of the coffee shop, the fat man who wore a white shirt, but suddenly, one of the employees there accidentally dropped his glory account card. Yishu and his friends then found out that the assassin wasn't the manager of the coffee shop, but that employee. That employee was called Mo Fan. He had been working as a barista at that coffee shop for a few months. The manager of the coffee shop was trying to embezzle some money from that coffee shop, but suddenly, the owner of the coffee shop arrived to save himself. The manager of the coffee shop blamed and accused all employees there. Then, Yishu decided to meet Mo Fan again in the game. He planned to disturb Mo Fan until he was willing to talk to him. During the game, Yishu attacked Mo Fan relentlessly. He didn't give a chance for Mo Fan to breathe. After Yishu threw Mo Fan to an old well, Mo Fan finally replied to his chat message. Yishu asked Mo Fan to come to Happy Internet Cafe. Mo Fan went to that place immediately. He finally arrived there. Yishu saw Mo Fan's arrival there as his agreement to join his team. Then, Yishu showed Mo Fan around the place, but apparently, the reason why Mo Fan came to Happy Internet Cafe was to steal Yishu glory account card, but Yishu had anticipated it. He had replaced his card with another glory account card. After that, Yishu told Mo Fan to use Myriad Manifestation Umbrella when he played the game. If Mo Fan managed to use it and defeat a member of Happy with it, then he could have that non-specialized weapon. Yishu also promised that he would never disturb Mo Fan again, but if Mo Fan lost in that game, then Mo Fan had to give his glory account card to him. The Happy member who was going to compete against Mo Fan was Wei Chen. Technically, an assassin was greater at fighting than a warlock in one-on-one competition, but since Mo Fan, the assassin, used a non-specialized weapon which could be only used by a character from non-class, that advantage as an assassin would be nothing. The result would be like he didn't use any weapon at all. Because of that, Wei Chen managed to defeat Mo Fan easily. After Yishu saw Mo Fan lost in the game, he took his glory account card immediately. Mo Fan was shocked when Yishu did that, but he couldn't say anything. Guo then tried to cheer Mo Fan up. She told him about the meaning and the importance of a friendship. She told him about how she laughed and got angry when she played Glory with her friends the next morning. Mo Fan returned to Happy Internet Cafe. He planned to take his Glory account card back. He told Wei Chen and Laozi about the secret maps in the game. With those secret maps, they could unlock a book about any techniques in Glory. The players could improve their skills by learning the techniques in that book. They learned those techniques for a few days. After that, Yishu and his team went to a restaurant to do team building activity. They saw the manager of the coffee shop where Mo Fan was working there. They also saw that man talking to Mo Fan. It seemed like the manager of the coffee shop had said something hurtful to Mo Fan. It was because after that conversation, Mo Fan sat alone at a table. The members of Happy thought that the manager of the coffee shop was being rude to Mo Fan. so they planned to take revenge on him. Yishu told Little Tang to go to the bathroom and seduce that man. While that man was flirting with Little Tang, Yishu told Baozi to make that man's girlfriend go to the bathroom so she could see them while that man and his girlfriend were gone. Wei Chen approached the owner of the coffee shop. He told him about the embezzlement of the coffee shop's money that was committed by his manager after that. And when Ai and Ifan put some chili powder into that man's drink, Mo Fan smiled when he saw the members of Happy playing those pranks on the manager of the coffee shop. He felt like he finally found a family who was willing to protect each other. While Yishu and his team were heading back to Happy Internet Cafe, Yishu gave Mo Fan's Glory account card back to Mo Fan. At the coffee shop, Mo Fan was thinking about the time he had spent with Happy. Then, he decided to return to Happy Internet Cafe and join Happy as a member. A few days later, the exhibition game between Happy and Excellent Era began. The members of Happy were surprised when they found out that Sun Jiang wouldn't play in the first battle, so they needed to change their strategy right away. As soon as the battle started, Happy sent their healer to lure Excellent Era into a place while the members of Excellent Era were following the healer of Happy. Happy suddenly tried to attack Zhao Shiqin in the middle of the map, but Zhao Shiqin managed to avoid those attacks because he was very fast. He thought that he couldn't fight the members of Happy alone, so he ran away immediately. But the members of Happy had anticipated that. They had sent their assassin, Mo Fan, to catch and attack Mo Fan while he was running away, but Zhao Shiqin had also anticipated this. He realized that there were only 4 members of Happy who attacked him, so he used his drone to look for the missing member of Happy. He finally managed to find him. Turned out, Mo Fan was really close to him. He had been waiting to attack him. Zhao Shiqin and Mo Fan finally fought each other. Zhao Shiqin was struggling to defeat Mo Fan, so he ran away from that place immediately once he had a chance. Yi Qiu saw that and chased Zhao Shiqin right away. Apparently, Su Mucheng had been watching them all this time. She helped Happy to protect Yi Shu from afar. Meanwhile, Mo Fan was still trying to catch Zhao Shiqin, but unfortunately, he fell into the enemy's trap. Zhao Shiqin had prepared a trap for their enemies. It was a land that full of mines. Mo Fan was trapped in that place. The members of Happy came to that place immediately to help Mo Fan, but instead of working together with his team, Mo Fan was obsessed to kill Zhao Shiqin by himself. He forgot that he had a team because it was his first time to play in a competition with a team. Because of his selfish obsession, he ruined his team's teamwork. He also made himself and Little Tang died after they got killed by Su Mucheng. Sun Jiang was happy when he saw that. He thought that it was the time for him to join his team. Yishu knew that Sun Jiang would use his ultimate power to attack him, so he prepared himself to defend him from his attack. But suddenly, Sun Jiang changed the target of his attack. He decided to attack and Wen Ai and Ifan instead, and Wen Ai and Ifan died instantly because of his attack. Because of that, Yishu and Wei Chen were the only members of Happy left. Yishu was struggling to fight Sun Jiang and his team who attacked him together, so he lured them into Wei Chen's place. Wei Chen had prepared himself to attack all of them. He managed to attack all members of Excellent Era, except Zhao Shiqin. Yishu saw that and took care of Zhao Shiqin immediately. He finally managed to kill Zhao Shiqin. After that, Happy got 1 point to join the Challenger League, but Happy was still sad and disappointed because they lost in the competition, so Yishu suggested them to take a rest for a day. The next day, Happy had a meeting. Guo told the members of Happy to write about their complaints on the papers. It could be about anything or anyone in the team. If someone received a complaint from another member, then they should be punished. Surprisingly, all of them wrote about themselves, except Mo Fan. Mo Fan didn't write anything on the paper. Because of that, Mo Fan regretted what he had done even more. Other members of Happy insisted on blaming themselves. Because of that, Guo couldn't do anything but to punish them. Guo told them to find the book about the techniques and glory. Mo Fan and Wei Chen helped them to find that book. After they found that book, they sold the copies of the books and exchanged them with expensive items. A few weeks later, Happy evaluated their performance. It seemed that Mo Fan hadn't improved a lot. His performance was the worst compared to the performance of other members of Happy. Because of that, other members of Happy helped Mo Fan. They evaluated Mo Fan's performance when he played the game, including how he played, the strategy he used, etc. Then, They taught them about the rolling technique. They also taught him about what he should do if he wanted to bring the best out of his team. After that, they asked Mo Fan to play his favorite game. Mo Fan decided to play basketball. During the basketball game, Mo Fan and his team finally found a better strategy to work together as a team. They also learned about what they should do to bring the best out of their team. At another place, Yishu saw a little boy and his grandfather. Suddenly, he remembered about his first league and his grandfather. Apparently, the real reason why Yishu always wore a mask when he played in the game tournament was because the disapproval of his father. His father didn't allow him to become an esports player. It was only his grandfather who supported him to become a professional esports player. With the support from his grandfather, Yiqiu finally decided to attend the academy he had and returned home since he went to the academy. Then, one day, he suddenly received the news that his grandfather had passed away. Yishu felt guilty because he wasn't there to attend his grandfather's funeral. Because of that memory, Yishu finally decided to return home. It was the first time for him to go home since he left home to attend the academy. When Yishu met his father, he told his father that he didn't regret his life choice. He also told his father that he and his team were going to compete in the Challenger League. He gave a ticket to his father. He hoped his father would attend that league. A few days later, the members of Happy prepared themselves to compete against a mysterious team in the Challenger League. They were told that their opponent was a veteran team. They were famous, but they hadn't joined any serious competition except the Challenger League. The competition between Happy and the mysterious team was going to be held in the mysterious team's place. Because of that, the members of Happy didn't see any of their supporters at the spectator seats. But turned out, there was one. It was the journalist who was a die-hard fan of Yishu. He was the only supporter of Happy who attended that competition at another place. Guo made a mistake by submitting a wrong registration form. She was a little nervous because it was her first time to attend an official competition. As a manager, she planned to submit Wei Chen's registration form, but she submitted Yifan's registration form instead. Yifan was surprised when he found out about that. He wondered how he could perform well in this one-on-one competition as a support. At the beginning of the game, it seemed like Yifan was very nervous. It was the first time for him to play in an official league. He was also the first member of Happy who played in that league. But he remembered about the advices that Yishu had told him. Because of those advices, he managed to manipulate his enemy's weaknesses, but unfortunately, he was finally defeated by his enemy at the end of the game. In the next battle, Baozi was going to compete against a witch. At the beginning of the game, Baozi seemed pretty confident, but after he played for a while, he was confused because he got lost. All he was doing during the game was only hiding behind those walls and rocks. It was because he remembered about the advices that Yishu had told him. Yishu once suggested him to hide behind the walls and the rocks if he wanted to hide from his enemy. So, Baozi did exactly what Yishu told him. Because of that, Baozi became an easy target for his enemy. His enemy attacked him relentlessly and finally managed to defeat him. It was Yishu's turn to play in the third battle. While he was going to the stage, he accidentally saw his father sitting at the spectator seat. Because of that, he finally took off his black mask. It was the first time for him to take off his mask when he played in an official league. Then, the battle between Yishu and an assassin from the opposing team began. During the game, Yishu attacked his enemy relentlessly. He didn't give a chance for his enemy to attack him back. Because of that, Yishu managed to defeat his enemy and become the winner. Yishu's father was very proud of his son. When he saw that, he became even more proud of his son. When the journalist, a die-hard fan of Yishu, approached and told him that Yishu was his inspiration in the fourth battle, the rule of the game was a little different. Unlike the previous battles, the battle wouldn't end if one of the players won. The player who won in this battle would keep playing until all members of the opposing team lost. It was a last man standing show. Wei Chen volunteered to become the first player from Happy to play in the fourth battle. He was going to compete against a warlock from the opposing team. Before the battle began, the captain of the opposing team warned his warlock to ignore everything Wei Chen said during the game. He told him to just ignore Wei Chen and keep going. The battle between Wei Chen and the warlock finally began. As a warlock himself, it seemed like Wei Chen knew the range that could be reached by a warlock when he attacked his enemy. Because of that, he managed to stay out of his opponent's range to avoid his attack. Wei Chen's enemy also stayed out of Wei Chen's range to avoid his attack. But turned out, Wei Chen managed to attack his enemy with his special weapon. His weapon could reach further than the range limit. Because of that, Wei Chen managed to defeat his first enemy easily. After that, Wei Chen was going to compete against a swordsman. In this battle, Wei Chen used his big mouth technique to defeat his enemy, but since his enemy was a swordsman, that technique didn't work. Wei Chen was finally defeated by his enemy in only one attack because he had lost. Wei Chen went off the stage. Bao Zi was going to replace Wei Chen in the next battle, but unfortunately, he was also easily defeated by the same swordsman. Like Wei Chen, he was also defeated in only one attack. After that, it was Little Tang's turn to replace Bao Zi. Unlike the previous battles, the battle between Little Tang and the swordsman was so fierce. The battle was so fierce that she only had 30% energy left, but after they fought for a while, Little Tang finally managed to defeat the swordsman. Then, Little Tang was going to compete against the vice captain of the opposing team because she only had 30% energy left. She decided to be really careful with her moves. She was also afraid to attack her enemy. All she did during the game was only avoiding and defending herself from her enemy's attack. Because of that, she was finally defeated by her enemy. Little Tang seemed disappointed in herself because she lost in that battle. Yi Shu saw her and chased her immediately when he met her. He evaluated his last game. Little Tang smiled when she heard that. She said that she understood. In the fifth battle, Happy and their opposing team were going to compete against each other with their entire teams. At the beginning of the game, Happy was struggling to fight their enemies. They were attacked relentlessly by their enemies. That their formation was divided, but apparently, it was a part of Yi Shu's plan. Their strategy was to fight their enemies individually. It was because their characters could only attack their enemies at close range while Yi Shu was fighting the captain of the opposing team. Mo Fan suddenly appeared. He helped Yi Shu to attack him. Mo Fan and Yi Shu finally managed to defeat the captain of the opposing team. After that, the members of Happy helped each other. They attacked their enemies one by one together. Because of that, they managed to defeat all members of the opposing team. They won in this battle by the score of 6-5. After the competition, Yi Shu planned to meet his father. He tried to find his father at the spectator seat, but he couldn't find him anywhere. But suddenly, the journalist approached him and gave him a key. That key was from his father. It meant that his father had supported him now, and Yi Shu could return home whenever he wanted at Happy Internet Cafe. The members of Happy were surprised when they saw the vandalism on the internet cafe's wall. Apparently, the supporters of Excellent Era were the ones who did this. They didn't like Yi Shu because they thought Yi Shu had betrayed Excellent Era. After that, while Yi Shu and his team were hanging out at a cafe, they were harassed by a supporter of Excellent Era again. Yi Shu told that supporter that they played Glory for themselves and not for their supporters. He wanted to tell the world that he was an esports athlete, not an esports celebrity. After the supporter of Excellent Era heard that, he finally left that cafe. After that, Yi Qiu told his team to do self-reflection. He wanted them to find and understand their true motives to play Glory. It was important for them to understand their true motives because those motives would affect how well their performances were and how long they would play the game. Then, he warned them about the verbal harassments that they might get from their haters if they got famous someday. They needed to prepare themselves to deal with those harassments. A few months later, both Happy and Excellent Era managed to win 6 competitions in a row. In the next competition, Happy was going to compete against Everlasting. During the game, the captain of Everlasting attacked Bao Zi relentlessly. It seemed easy for him to attack Bao Zi from a mile away. Su Mucheng watched that competition at the spectator seat. She told her friend that the attack was impossible because it was shot at a long range. Meanwhile, Little Tang and Ifan were struggling to fight 4 members of Everlasting. They were attacked by them relentlessly because it seemed impossible for them to defeat them. Little Tang and Ifan lured their enemies into Wei Chen's place. Those 4 members of Everlasting followed them immediately. As soon as they arrived there, Wei Chen attacked all of them with his power at another place. Yi Shu finally found the captain of Everlasting who had been attacking Bao Zi all this time. He attacked and cornered him immediately, but suddenly, they got disconnected from the server. Apparently, Everlasting cheated in the game. They paid someone to tell them about the location of Bao Zi to their shooter. That was why the captain of their team managed to attack Bao Zi at a long range. Not only that, they also told the man they paid to disconnect them from the server if they got cornered. Even though Everlasting cheated in the game, Happy finally managed to defeat them in this battle. The captain of Everlasting was called Wu Chen. After he lost in the competition, He had a flashback about the time before the competition began. Everlasting had a meeting. In that meeting, their manager told them that the investors would stop investing in their team if they lost in this competition. Because of that, Wu Chen was obsessed to win in this competition. He didn't care if their team had to cheat. Those investors were really important for their team. After that, Wu Chen asked GQIU to meet him at a cafe. He wanted to sell all of Everlasting's equipment to Yishu. Yishu felt bad for him, so he asked him to join his team. Wu Chen finally agreed to join Happy after they had some negotiations. To continue our journey, let's summarize about the main characters in this series. First, in the Glory Professional Alliance, there were the 4 master tacticians. They were Zhao Shiqin from Excellent Era, Yu Wanzhou the captain of Blue Rain, Zhang Xinji the vice captain of Tanner Herbal, and Yishu. Then, in Happy, there was the manager of Happy. She was called Guo Guo. The members of Happy consisted of Little Tang the fighter, Yifan the support, Baozi the striker, Luoji the summoner, Mo Fan the assassin, Wei Chen the warlock, and Wu Chen the shooter. In the next competition, Happy was going to compete against Jade Dynasty. While Wei Chen was buying some drinks, he saw Wu Chen was talking to the captain of Jade Dynasty. Wei Chen thought that Wu Chen was going to betray his team. He planned to tell Yishu about it, but before Wei Chen managed to tell Yishu about Wu Chen, an employee from the Glory Federation League came to their room. He accused Yishu of using fake identity to play Glory. Yishu suddenly remembered the time when he used his twin brother's identity to create his new account before Yishu left them. He asked Wei Chen to take care of their team. He chose Wei Chen to replace him while he was gone because Wei Chen was the most experienced player in the team. Wei Chen then remembered the time when Wu Chen talked to the captain of Jade Dynasty. He suspected that Wu Chen was going to sabotage them. So, he asked Guo Guo to replace Wu Chen with Yifan in this competition. Guo Guo finally did what Wei Chen asked him during the game. Yifan competed against a support because of his experiences as an assassin in Tiny Herb for years. He was really great at walking without getting noticed by his enemy. It seemed that he had also improved a lot after those months with Happy. Then, Yifan was hiding at the top of the wall. He was waiting for the lightning to strike to attack his enemy in a surprise. After that, he used a special technique to trap his enemy. While his enemy was trapped, he attacked him relentlessly with all of his powers. Because of that, Yifan managed to win in that battle. In the second battle, Baozi was going to compete against a swordsman from Jade Dynasty. During the game, it also seemed that Baozi had improved a lot after he spent that many months with Happy. He managed to defeat his enemy even though his enemy was a veteran player like Wei Chen. It was because he had an ability to copy his enemy's skills and use them to fight against them. In the third battle, it was Mo Fan's turn to play. Before Mo Fan went to the stage, Wei Chen told him to buy time because Yishu hadn't come back yet. Because of that, Mo Fan decided to keep hiding from his enemy during the game. He didn't attack his enemy even though he could. Suddenly, the referee approached him and gave him a yellow card. It was because he had been playing passively for a long time. Because of that, Mo Fan had no other option but to attack his enemy. After Mo Fan and his enemy fought for a while, Mo Fan was finally defeated by his enemy in another room. Yishu was waiting for the decision of the Glory Federation League. The Glory Federation League was still having a meeting with the captains of the great teams. In the next battle, Little Tang was going to compete against 3 members of the opposing team. She promised her team that she would defeat all of them. She confidently said that she would stop playing Glory if she lost in that battle. During the game, it seemed that Little Tang was really great at fighting her enemies, like Baozi and Yifan. She had also improved a lot. She performed well when she fought the assassin of the opposing team, but apparently, it was only her enemy's plan to be attacked by Little Tang easily. He purposely sacrificed himself so he could defeat her at the end. His strategy finally worked. Little Tang died instantly because of his attack. It meant that Little Tang failed to keep her promise to defeat 3 of her enemies. Little Tang looked so pressured because of that. In the next battle, Guo Guo was going to play for her team even though Guo Guo wasn't a good player. Happy couldn't do anything but to choose her. There was no member left in the team that they could choose except Wu Chen. But Wei Chen didn't want Wu Chen to play for them because he still suspected that Wu Chen was going to betray them as expected. Guo Guo had no idea about what she should do during the game. Because of that, she was easily defeated by her enemy when the battle had just begun. In the last battle, Wei Chen was going to compete against 2 members of the opposing team during the game. Wei Chen noticed that his enemy kept using the same skill to attack him. Because of that, he managed to defeat his enemy easily, but apparently, it was only a part of their enemy's plan. His enemy purposely attacked Wei Chen with the same skill so Wei Chen would keep repeating the same move to avoid his attacks. As the result, Wei Chen's wrist would get injured. His other enemy also used the same skill that his friend used to attack Wei Chen. Wei Chen began to get tired. His right hand began to get tired and hard to move. After a while, he couldn't move his hand anymore to avoid his enemy's attacks. Because of that, he finally lost in that battle in another room.